Welcome to American Issues Take One. I'm Tim Apicella, your host. And today's title, Musk and Trump, the Odd Couple. Musk influence on Trump or Trump using Musk? We have this, for lack of a better term, we have this bromance taking place before our very eyes. And, just for those that don't know what bromance means, and I actually went to the dictionary and looked it up, bromance is a close, non-sexual relationship between two men. While I was looking up the definition of bromance, I found some other definitions for other words. And here's an interesting one. A male escort or social companion who is supported by a person in a continuing relationship. And part of that definition, a man who is paid to be a dancing partner. Now, what word associate with those two definitions? Believe it or not, gigolo.
Yeah.
So I don't know if we're dealing with billionaire gigolos or do we just have a real bromance or political consultants? So to discuss this odd relationship between Donald Trump and Elon Musk, we are here with my special esteemed guest, Chuck Crumpton, Ben Davis, and my co-host, Jay Fidell. Welcome, everyone, and welcome to the world of oddity. In the last 2 weeks, we have nothing but oddity concerning the relationship between Elon Musk, Donald Trump, and let's just throw in Ramaswamy as why we're at it. But Jay, to you, how do you best describe this relationship between Elon Musk and Donald Trump?
You compare it with The Odd Couple, which is a great movie. And in that movie, Walter Matthau and who was the other actor there? Jack Lemmon, yeah. There was an affection between them. And that's what made it funny. That's what made it heartwarming. It was a heartwarming movie. I just want to say that although I know, that's a good title you made, this is not a heartwarming relationship. This is a terrifying relationship. And the question is, what really brings these guys together? Is it some sort of affection? Is it respect? Or is it, purely greed? It could be greed. It sounds like greed, but it's also practical. And I think there's a practical, reason on both sides for this relationship. I think, Trump is impressed by people who are rich and powerful. He probably has a problem with, his own station in life. He's never going to be quite confident. And I think on Elon Musk's side, he's brilliant. He's like Rain Man in reverse. He's brilliant. Look what he's done. It's just amazing. But, that doesn't make him a sane and sober individual. It makes him effective at what he's done, but it doesn't endear him in any way. And, a lot of people think he's out of his mind. I woke up this morning thinking, what do they think of each other? Do they like each other? Do they fear each other? Do they respect each other? What do they hope to get out of the other one? And it's got to be something really awful, something practical. You put two billionaires together, and Trump is a billionaire. I mean, he's made a lot of money. If he wasn't an unadulterated billionaire at the beginning of his term, he became one by corruption, and he is certainly one now. They say $2.5 billion. It's not nearly as much as 600 billion. I think we have to see them through the lens of billionaires. What are billionaires like? And I think you don't get to be a billionaire by being a nice guy. By the way, you can quote me on that. Neither of them is a nice guy. Neither of them is really trustworthy. Neither of them cares for people in general. Neither of them is into the benefit of the country and the people and the citizens and the perpetuation of our democracy. Neither of them. They're in there, to make money. They're in there to be powerful. And they're, it's like each one is fingernails on a blackboard. They really can't get along. This is an odd couple that can never, ever get along. So I was really surprised when Trump capitulated on the tech visa issue a few days ago. I was really surprised. I thought he was going to have a big fight. They were going to have a big fight. But somebody had to give, and Trump gave, which actually, from a practical point of view, was very smart. But it tells you a few things. It tells you his relationship with the MAGA crowd, and I think you're right. He's damaged that, but he can recover from that. He made a call on that, a judgment decision on that, and he figured he could recover from it. He's not worried about the Democrats who are going to criticize everything he does. I think he worries more about Elon Musk and Elon Musk's friends. So there's a little club going on. It's not just the two odd couple. And I think they all look at it through the eyes of billionaires, and billionaires are different people, especially public billionaires, who get along, who get off on being publicly rich. So I think what we have here is an odd couple that's very odd. What I mean is it's unique. It's sui generis. We've never seen billionaires get together to express political dimensions the way these guys are doing. And it also tells us that there's a certain flexibility between them. And they're both interested in the power they can have being together. Although I would say that Trump is more interested in that than Elon Musk. Elon Musk faced them down. He faced them down for money, for his own benefit. So this is only one of a number of issues that the odd couple will have. And there'll be, it's like a series, like a series on TV. There'll be a lot of episodes coming. And hopefully we'll know about them, and they won't shut us out of their adventures.
Yeah. Well, there was a series. It was called The Odd Couple. So back in the 70s. Chuck, I'm going to read a quote here from Donald Trump, and I'll ask the question here. The quote is this. He said this at a Turning Point USA event in Phoenix, Arizona. He said, "Nope, he's not going to be president. That I can tell you. And I'm safe. You know why? He can't, because he wasn't born in this country." Now, that quote is in response to a lot of, well, we used to call them cartoons, a lot of memes, a lot of, comments from commentators about who's president. Is it Elon Musk or is it Donald Trump? Well, it must have gotten under Donald's skin, because he had to take to the podium, to the microphone, to clarify that he is president of the United States and he won the election. So this must have gotten under his skin to some degree. The question is, if everyone's poking fun at him, does this relationship last? Because, Donald Trump is very sensitive. He doesn't like his authority and his, man take charge being in question. How does this rub with Trump?
Well, you raise a really good point, Tim. I mean, as far as we know, Trump has never been able to maintain a relationship with anybody for a significant period of time. Family members, others. He will bestow gifts and status and power on some of them so that they act compliant and obedient. But in terms of having a relationship, an exchange, what we consider a relationship, I don't think anybody has ever pointed to any in Trump's life that have lasted or are there now. So remember, and I like Jay's allusion to Jack Lemmon and Walter Matthau in the original film, The Odd Couple, followed by the TV series with Tony Randall and Jack Klugman as the pair. But where Lemmon and Matthau went decades later was two famous movies together called Grumpy Old Men and Grumpier Old Men. Okay. Trump's staying power is nowhere near that of Walter Matthau or Jack Lemmon or Tony Randall or Jack Klugman. How soon do he and Musk get to become grumpy old men? Your guess is as good as mine.
Well, there is a symbiotic relationship here. I mean, obviously, any person, any one individual that contributes $277 million to your political campaign chest, there's value in that. And I suppose there's value of having your BFF, your best friend forever, to be the richest man in the world. So who's the host and who's the parasite? I mean, who's feeding off of who, and what benefit do either of them get from one another?
It's a great question, but let's pose another hypothetical. What if Bill Gates were to go to Trump and say, I'll give you 300 million if you let me protect the environment against climate change. Me and my friend Al Gore. Where do you think that goes? So the second part of it is, for Trump, every issue is just another card in the deck. As far as he's concerned, there's no relation between them. H-1B visas and immigration, as far as he's concerned, have nothing to do with each other. They're simply cards he plays.
I mean, he is transactional.
Well, but he's more than that. He's issue compartmentalized in ways that are neither logical, rational, nor consistent. He's proud of that. He plays it up as a virtue. He calls it, what did he call it? Weaving? Yeah, if there's anybody that pulls strands out of the weave, it's got to be Trump.
Right.
I don't think any weaving group or quilters would take him in.
It's one long hair. Okay. Thank you, Chuck. I appreciate that. Yeah, that's the weave.
We need a little humor to deal with this, right?
Yeah, we do. You know, it's the holiday season, so we're doing this special edition, so why not? Ben, Elon Musk sabotaged the spending packet just before Congress was ready to go on their holiday, and threw everything in basically chaos. A packet that, by the way, had total bipartisan support, and so Republicans alike were not pleased with the antics of Elon Musk to call this package in question, and certainly Donald Trump then said that the packet is no good either. Is Elon Musk, is his role that of a wrecking ball, and it's convenient for Trump for let him be the deflector or take all the slings and arrows of people's angst and set him out in the front lines to take these assaults for doing things that maybe he wants to do?
On that particular point, the issue that I've heard was close to the heart of Elon Trump was there was in the original package some restrictions with regards to investments with China. And since half of his cars in the world are being built in China, he has his largest plant there, and he's actually building a battery factory there too. It seemed to me that it was just pure Elon Musk trying to tank something that was going to hurt his business, like any corporate head would do in this kind of setting. So I just think that Elon Musk, I think of Elon Musk as what we used to call a loose cannon, right? He's a loose cannon in an organization, and he's not even in the organization, right? And so sometimes a loose cannon is doing things that you'd like, and then sometimes not. The question becomes, how long are you going to keep the loose cannon around, right? Well, the wonderful thing about Elon Musk is he has unbelievable gobs of money, right? $270 million spent for Trump. Trump can't ignore that, as you know, so he's going to keep him around a long time. He might slice off somebody like Ramaswamy or somebody else, but Elon is his boy. And the fact that everyone rolled over to take out that restriction on Tesla, the fact that I do believe that the reporting requirements for accidents with self-driving Teslas, apparently Elon Musk wants those reporting requirements of the government to be lifted, so that he doesn't have to report when people get into accidents in his self-driving cars. I mean, there's like a whole series of sort of corporate interests is the way that I look at it, that he's got, and he's mercenary with regards to those things that increase his wealth. I also will say what I've said to you all before, that famous French adage that behind every great fortune was a great crime, right? So, we don't know exactly what they are, but there's things that could raise questions. So,
okay, let me follow up with your loose cannon comment, because loose cannon was that on a sailing ship. Cannon got loose, all sorts of destruction happened to the ship and crewmates. Susan Wiles, she's the new nominated chief of staff for Donald Trump, and she seems to be sort of a no-nonsense kind of an individual. and it's her job to be the gatekeeper of sorts, to see who has access to Donald Trump, what that individual may or may not be whispering into Donald Trump's ear, and to what degree now does Donald Trump abandon his pathway, and now he takes a new pathway depending on who the last person was whispering into his ear. So the question is, how does Susan Wiles deal in the future of this administration with the likes of Elon Musk, who not only is whispering in his ears, but he's taking to the microphone?
Well, I would just look at what has gone on in the past. Has she ever played this role with regards to anything Trump has done over the last 9 years in terms of limiting access to him or anything like that? Or is she smart enough to know, just let him do what he wants to do, and not? Yeah, my sense is that she's a survivor because she does what pleases Trump, and Trump likes to go off on his own. He's kind of a loose cannon himself, and so I have no expectation that she or any other chief of staff, based on our track record of chiefs of staff of Donald Trump, will really play any role to sort of limit things.
Yeah, I could see her resigning after a few months, but that's just me. Maybe I think your point's right. Is she's survived Donald Trump for all these years, and that's probably about letting Donald be Donald. So that's a good point. Thank you very much, Ben.
Yeah.
Jay, what's in it for Musk to be in this role?
On the balance sheet, he wins. I mean, he's going to do incredibly well on his. I mean, you talk about the San Francisco regulation of the Tesla cars, and that'll go away. I mean, it's ultimately Trump has absolute power over federal regulations. I don't know if the San Francisco can override federal regulations, but he's got the whole federal government, and he belongs to Musk. And he's going to get all that space contract stuff. He's going to sell his cars in China, probably in the U.S. too. Watch out. If you ask what's in it for Musk, a lot of money, much more money, than you could imagine. I mean, I guess he doesn't have enough. Poor bugger. In any event, what I was thinking though is this: Trump has lost it twice in a row. Trump wanted to lift the debt ceiling. He didn't get that. The Republicans wouldn't vote with him. And he was all ticked off at Mike Johnson about it, and he was ticked off at the Republicans. And then a week later, he has to capitulate, again, having to give way to Musk. So, Musk has beat him now. I mean, I don't know how else to put that. He's beat him twice in a row on major issues. And Trump hates to be criticized. He also hates to lose. He's got this compulsive thing about winning. Well, he lost twice. And then in the paper this morning, Trump announced that he was going to support Mike Johnson for Speaker. I think that might be a third capitulation. So what's happening here? We wondered about this. He's getting older. We wondered about his stability, but we also wondered about his competence. And I think we're seeing the edges of that fray now. I think, the psychology of it and, the best friend forever aspect of it is that he needs somebody to be with him. He needs the advice. He needs the whatever, judgment Musk is offering, even though it's corrupt. He wants to have that. And because he knows he himself is declining. And I think these three things happening in a row, 3 or 4, but we'll see more. There'll be episodes about how Trump is failing. You'll see. And that Musk is going to have the con on everything. Every time there's an issue. And Trump will give way. I think we already see the outlines of that emerging now. And so, the joke they made about how Trump was vice president and Musk was president, in every joke there is truth. And that I think that's true. I think what's happening here is that Musk is assuming the role And Trump is allowing him to do it because Trump has not been able to outfox him, but in the public sphere, but also because Trump is declining. So Trump wins by having Musk around because Trump needs somebody like Musk around. Musk is the winner in the balance sheet here.
Trump's, heart-to-heart relationship with his MAGA followers. 33% of all the voters, have been Donald Trump's loyal followers since 2015. That has not been ever shaken by anyone. Yet when it came to the H-1B visa issue, here's something that Elon Musk said about basically the followers. He said, "They're contemptible fools. They must be rooted out of the Republican Party, roots and stem." Now, it seems to me that Donald Trump, as you said, there's 4 or 5 instances where he capitulated to Elon Musk, and this seems to be a big one where he didn't defend the MAGA followers with Elon Musk's statement here. Does Donald start to lose that love affair with his MAGA voters?
Well, let's put ourselves in Donald's shoes. I know that's an unpleasant, scenario, but
Yeah. Thanks, Jay.
Okay, so he won. Okay, he's got 4 years. If he lasts that long, both physically and mentally, there's a question about that. Remember, Woodrow Wilson. But I think what we have here is a situation where the only thing that matters to him right now is the midterms. That will allow him to maintain his power and to expand his power. If he loses the House or the Senate, it's bad. Now, Elon Musk is the key to that because Elon Musk knows how to primary people. He knows how to win elections. And footnote to that is one of the organizations that has come onto the stage here is the organization of cryptocurrency brokers, because those guys gave hundreds of millions to the election in November, and they helped Republican candidates. So it's the guys with the big money that Trump wants to hold on to. So what else does he care about? He's not going to run again. He's got his 4 years to be powerful, and the crimp in it is if he loses the Congress, then he's not so powerful. So I think the way he sees it is that Musk is his ticket to holding on to Congress. Even if he does badly in the first 2 years, in this country, money buys Congress. And I think that's what he wants him for.
Okay, thank you. Chuck, before the election, and rightly so, I think, there were a lot of comments about a vote for Trump is a vote for the next dictator of the United States, that he was going to be an autocrat in nature. Well, in the short 3 weeks, the last 3 weeks or so, since Elon Musk has, been getting in front of the TV cameras, the microphones, we're now talking about an oligarchy. Not so much a dictatorship, but Trump setting the stage for all his rich friends to be at the helm of power and wielding power in this country that impact Americans, all Americans. So, not that things are always a binary choice, but which is it? Is Trump setting up an oligarchy, or is he setting himself up as an autocrat, or is he just going to be another Woodrow Wilson sitting in the back room and completely ineffective?
Well, I think all three of you have made some really good points. The kind of fourth or fifth one that we've all alluded to is that for the last several weeks, Elon Musk has had the spotlight and Trump has been in the background. I mean, tell me something important that he's said or done in the last 3 weeks after his spewing out cabinet nominations to just generate a lot of attention and a lot of opposition, which he thrives on. But Jay made a really good point. Musk can't be president. So why should he wait for 2 more years or 4 more years to try and get as much out of his power as he can in return for whatever money it takes to do that? There's absolutely no disincentive for Musk to spend money to get short-term return on investment that's going to generate a level of economic power and status that would be the equivalent or even greater than the presidency. Can Trump do anything about that? We don't know.
Well, but is he setting the stage to have the rich and powerful at the controls of government? And does that trend continue long after Trump is gone? Is he setting the stage for an oligarchy?
Well, that's a great question, because many times Trump's been quoted as saying, put $1 million into my inauguration and you'll get what you want in my
He said that to the
administration.
oil guys, yeah.
Right. Put $1 billion into my campaign and you'll get what you want in terms of deregulation. But the wild card now that Trump doesn't control is if Musk has assumed a position at the top of the heap, he's not a guy who lets other people get to where he is. That's not how we got that. You're not hearing anything from Jeff Bezos about, I want a piece of this too, right? I've got 300 million you can have if I can have control of transportation, commerce, the interior, whatever he might want. But there's no competition for Musk right now. That's where Trump's Achilles heel may be. And he can try and buttress his fort in DC with Johnson and people like that. But if you've got a factionalized Congress, which we're still going to have for the next at least 2 years, more likely 4, and more likely beyond that, that's not really accomplishing anything really significant, then what stops Musk from getting everything he wants by putting his money where it gets that result?
Let me jump in for a minute on a thought that comes out of Chuck's comments. And that is, for an oligarchy, and you have to have a bunch of oligarchs that are all, I hate to use the word equal, because they're not equal. In this case, Musk is beyond any of the others. They don't know as much as he. They don't have as much money as he. They don't have as much power as he does. He has Trump's ear. And as Chuck was speaking, I kept thinking of Charlie McCarthy and Edgar Bergen. So I think we're headed down a path where the only real oligarch is Musk. And yes, he was born outside the US. Yes, he can't be president, but and yes, he's trying to undermine the government and be king of the heap. And he does that by Charlie McCarthy. And I think as we go down, the series and look at the episodes, we're going to find that Musk is really more and more controlling Trump. And Trump may be, a facade, but the real deal is going to be Musk. Watch what happens.
Our audience may not know the reference of Charlie McCarthy and Edward Bergen. Edward Bergen, I believe, was a ventriloquist, and Charlie was the dummy. So just to point that out, because we do, it's a good analogy, Jay, but some of us may not know that reference. All right, thank you. I want to take one of the points that Chuck made and to you, Ben, and that is, Musk is outside the confirmation process, yet he's wielding a lot of power. And there seems to be a whole lot, no one standing in the way, unless you count the 38 Republicans that said no to Trump's willing to demolish the debt ceiling. He had a visible protest in the form of votes that said, no, this is not going to happen. To the point where you have someone operating outside the confirmation process, outside the advise and consent process. To what degree do Americans say, this man is wielding way too much influence and power on policies that we don't really care for? Do the Americans stand up and say, we have an issue with Elon Musk and his influence on the president of the United States?
Yeah, That's a very, very good point. What came to mind as you were saying that was the Koch brothers, right?
Hmm.
I mean, the Koch brothers, completely outside of any governmental process, but having enormous power in developing all of our policies with regards to oil and gas and whatever the chemicals industries that they're in. So the only difference I see is that, I mean, the Kochs over time became maybe a little more sort of in the public, but Musk is like front and center. All right, yeah, in that role. So I would say that having somebody who is so dominant, who is not in office, is not surprising. It's something that we've had a long time, and we just didn't see them before. Now we maybe see them more clearly than ever before. Um, Personally, I find sometimes interesting to watch the battles among the various people. You know, the Steve Bannon, Vivek Ramaswamy, and Laura Loomer, and and uh, and Trump. Sorry, and Elon Musk battle was fascinating to watch because of the tact taken with regards to criticisms of each other that was there. I mean, just you don't usually see that on the Republican side in that way. You would see it on the Democratic side. So it's kind of interesting to watch to watch that. Um, Yet the other part of it is that I think maybe I'm completely wrong on this, but it's kind of appalling, isn't it? I mean, just what these people are planning to do. I mean, if we're going to cut out $2 trillion, it's going to be Medicare, Medicaid, those kind of things. I mean, if that's a real number, that's what it's going to be. 80% of the government is basically Medicare, Medicaid, the Defense
Hmm.
Department. If we're going to have these mass deportations with these camps, let's call them that, where people are transit camps. That's an old term, transit camps. I don't know if anybody remembers that one from World War II, transit camps. And then they became something else. But that's another thing. There's talk somehow of this Greenland, Panama, Canada thing being part of a more grand plan, right? I mean, I'm like, I'd love to see what this plan is, that, but when you look at this sort of the sum of all these things, and you just kind of wonder, well, how much horror is going to happen? I mean, really, how much horror is going to is are the and the, by the way, the point that was made before about these not being compassionate or empathetic people, I think is exactly right. I mean, I can't emphasize that enough. They really have no sense of caring about anybody who is not another billionaire. I mean, that's the sense they bring out it, and it's just so you just see a lot of pain, unfortunately, for people. Um, and Musk will be right at the front, calling them contemptible fools. I'm just waiting for somebody to call them useless eaters at some point. I mean, we're almost the way that they describe some of these people.
Well, that's true. I think many times Donald Trump has been referred to in the media, to quote an old Russian term, useful idiot. So,
Yes, yes, yeah.
so, all right. Guess what? And I know it's hard to believe, but we've run out of time.
Oop.
So let's go around the virtual table here. Jay, I'll start with you. Your final thoughts on this topic?
I have two thoughts. One is we can never forget X. X has billions and billions and billions of followers. And, when it first came up, when he first bought it, he wasn't sure he was going to buy it. He changed his mind. He came back. He paid more. He paid less. We all thought it was a joke. It's not a joke anymore. He controls public opinion with X, and X is alive and well. I mean, I personally would never go on X. I'd have to take a shower while I was engaged with it. But the fact is, it's very powerful. And what's worse is he controls everything on X. So that is more than just affecting public opinion. It is affecting what happens in government, what happens in Congress. Watch out. He is still expanding X, and it is getting to be more powerful all the time. Donald Trump knows that. What did they say recently? He had, dealing with Congress on the issue of the debt ceiling and the shutdown, he had more power from X than all of the legislators in Congress had, just from X. And so watch that one. The other one I wanted to mention is that Ben, you made good points about what they have threatened, and the 2025 project, points and all that. I am reminded so often in so many ways of Trump's origins, his political origins, all around The Apprentice, which was a TV show, which was irrational and in many ways ridiculous. But people watched it, maybe because it was irrational and it was ridiculous. And he learned about how to manipulate the storyline, the narrative, so that people followed him. And so I suggest to you guys that some of these issues in Project 2025, some of the crazy Looney Tunes projects, initiatives that he mentions, like Greenland and Panama and Canada, that's ridiculous. That's never going to happen, never going to get anywhere. But it entertains us, it provokes us. And I think that entertainment factor is a way to distract us from what these guys are really going to do. So I think, here at ThinkTech, a lot of the worst fears we've had over the past how many years is it, are going to be realized in 2025. It's coming soon, in a matter of 2 or 3 weeks, if not sooner. And we have to watch ever more carefully, not to be distracted by, apprentice-like entertainment and distraction.
All righty. Thank you, Jay. Chuck, to you.
A couple of things. Following from all three of you, especially Jay's insights on connection between the money and the power. And Musk has done exactly what Trump did to gain power and control, not just with a mega base, but with the donors that enabled him to assemble that base. He controlled the donors, classic golden rule, the one with the gold rules, right? Musk has now taken that to another level because he's got more money than all of Trump's donors put together.
Yes.
Trump is no competition for him. When it comes down to it, you go Elon Musk's way or you get primaried with who knows how many $1 million laid up against you. And they can find people as candidates, just like they can find people for lawsuits to set aside abortion rights, to set aside equal protection rights, to set aside affirmative action, to set aside environmental protections. So the question is there within the ranks of the moneyed and powered people who might be motivated to create an equal or stronger base of support so that there is a choice out there? It's not going to come from the grassroots now. Clearly, congressional positions, as Ben and Jay and you have said, they're bought and sold. State political positions are in many cases bought and sold. So where in the money and power might there be sources that are going to stand up for values the way that the late Jimmy Carter, whose name I have to mention because he just passed yesterday, reminded us are still worth defending and protecting?
Great point. Wish I had more time because somewhere in those 38 Republicans that said no to Donald Trump, throughout their career, since Donald Trump has been president and hasn't been president, they've been threatened umpteen times about being primaried. And at some point, a bully's threats wear thin. But that's a good comment. Thank you, Chuck. Ben, your final thoughts.
After Jay and Chuck, it's very hard to think of something other than, I have friends overseas who have written to me on Facebook and said, get out. Which I found really heavy hearing, this from other people, people overseas in terms of when they see what's going on in America. So, I think, I guess the main feeling I have is that I agree it's a battle among the moneyed classes that we're watching. It's like a Gilded Age kind of moment again, and a battle among the moneyed class. And all of us who are not of that class are sort of sitting here watching this battle going on. The only thing that it comes to my mind is, after the Gilded Age, wasn't there the Great Depression? Right? Wasn't that what happened? And in American experience, it seems that there's always where the greed gets so great that you have these crashes. There were panics back in the 19th century, panic early 20th century, then depressions, recessions, and all that. And there's a part of me that's just wondering about where is this recession going to be coming from. I heard recently a statistic that was saying that the number of people who are long-term unemployed has actually gone up recently significantly, And I was like, I wonder is that an early indicator of something? I don't know, but that's what I think about is what happens when the crash happens.
Be just economic and maybe natural disasters from failure to protect
Yeah.
the environment against climate change.
Exactly. Yeah.
And the Great Depression was the fact that there was an absence of regulatory oversight. If it does happen again, it'll be a fact that we had regulatory oversight, which was pushed away and pushed aside.
Yeah.
Good points. All right. Well, I'd like to finish by just saying, and Chuck, you brought this up. Yesterday we lost a great president. He didn't get a second term because a lot of his policies just didn't work with the times and the economics of the time. But the one thing that you will hear over and over again in the next days to come was the man was decent, the man was honest, he didn't lie to the American public, and he ran his presidency and after he left the office with a life of decency. Now compare that to the president coming in, the second term president coming in, and can you get any greater than 180 degrees? I don't know. I heard it's 180 degrees plus another 90, 270. With that, I'd like to thank my esteemed guests, Chuck Crumpton. I'd like to thank Ben Davis for joining us this morning. And of course, always my trusted co-host, Jay Fidell. This is American Issues Take One. I'm Tim Apicella, your host. And why don't you join us next week? And until then, aloha.